What is up, everybody? Welcome into this week's episode of It's Called Football on the Vendetta Sports and Media YouTube channel. Per usual, Jackson Fyda, Jerry Walker here to talk all the Premier League action from both the past weekend, and as we were recording Wednesday night, there were midweek fixtures Tuesday and Wednesday, so we'll touch on some of those as well. More of a general episode this week, talking about the European races, the title race. We may even dive into some FA Cup action this weekend, which we will talk about, because again, second time in recent times, we've both forgotten the FA Cup has just snuck up.
Mm-hmm.
We're prepared to talk some Premier League matches this weekend, but we have the FA Cup instead. So we're going to touch on that. We're also going to touch on the relegation promotion battles in all the other three leagues in England, Championship, League One, League Two, just to give our thoughts on that, because why not? We did it last year. Might as well do it a bit this year.
Mm-hmm.
Before we do that, Jackson, how you doing on this Wednesday night?
I've been better, but let's get through it.
Yep, and for better or worse, that's where we're going to start with Arsenal dropping major points this weekend. They got a total of 1 point out of 6 possible between the weekend and today. Drew 0-0 with Nottingham Forest, lost 1-0 at home to Arsenal. What went wrong for the Gunners this week?
You just don't have anyone clinical because everyone's hurt. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And we talked about this. We knew it was going to happen. I was hoping we could get through the West Ham game, but we knew it was going to happen, right? And I said last week that if West Ham scores, it's going to be game. They're not going to be able to come back, and that's exactly what happened. And this is what happens when you don't go and get depth when you need it, you know? I mean, this is just mismanagement, to be honest, because we controlled both games, I'd say.
Oh, yeah, and 68% possession versus West Ham, 65% against Forest today.
Exactly. You watch it, and we have the ball, but you just don't really feel like anyone's going to score because, I mean, you have Waneri, who's young. He can provide some exciting moments, but you can't rely on the kid yet.
No.
Sterling has yet to score a single goal for Arsenal in the league. He doesn't even start right now. I mean, sure, Trossard can do stuff, right? And then up top, you have a 6. You have Marino, right? And it's just an unfortunate situation because of the injuries and all that. But again, kind of like how we talked about Tottenham earlier on this year, that's not really an excuse because that's why you squad plan. That's why you build depth. That's why you go on sign depth. So, I mean, that's really what it comes down to, why things haven't gone well these last couple of games. To be honest, going back to the Leicester game, that probably could have been 0-0 as well. It took like a heroic kind of final 10 minutes from Mikel Merino. I guess that's probably going to be playing championship footy next year.
Yeah.
And this is just what happens when you don't go out and get depth and you don't have players.
And I guess the issue is as well, like, sure, there wasn't a big injury. I don't think Saka was injured until after the transfer window, but you already had other guys injured.
Yeah.
You already were missing so many players, and I don't think Arsenal really went out and got anybody that helps them attacking-wise. They were so reliant on just sitting back, passing the ball around, and not making opportunities. They had 3 total shots on target in the last 2 matches. Total. Across both. You're not going to win when you don't put the ball on net.
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean,
it's just one of those things, like the attack has just looked clueless. And it is to the point you're making where some of the guys, your big attacking guys are hurt. But this is where you need the Martin Odegaards, the Declan Rices, the guys you're paying a shit ton of money to step up and find the ways to get the ball in the net. They're just not.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. I mean, in today's game, the best chance came from Calafiori turning.
Yep.
Nothing else was really created that was super dangerous, minus a corner kick, right? A set piece. Apart from that, it was just you didn't feel like we were ever going to score. I thought they were going to score before we were, to be honest, on the counterattack. I thought we were going to lose the game, being straight up.
Didn't Zinchenko have one big chance towards the end? I think he got a shot blocked, but I think he found himself in like because there was a little scramble that the Forest goalkeeper made or someone cleared it off the line.
Yeah, he did. But talking about the one where it was offside.
Was it towards the last 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, we had the one where it was offside.
That might have been it, because there was also one where
flicked through by Marino, and then Zinchenko.
Oh no, no.
made it
This
over.
one wasn't. I don't think this was the offside one. It was a little scramble in front. Someone got shot the ball, got cleared off the line. Then another shot hit someone and went out for a corner. I
To be
think
honest, I may have been zoning out at this point.
maybe it was offside, but I was watching all four
Mm,
games at once, so kind of keeping my eye here and there and following
mm.
that Man U game, which was tragic in the end. But did you see the first goal for Ipswich?
I did. He
So
strikes yet again, man.
so funny. For those who didn't see it, Alenga tries to kind of shield the ball, ends up playing it around Onana. So the Ipswich player just walks up, just has to tap it into the back of the net, and 1-0 after 4 minutes. But
Yeah.
they ultimately got it done, sadly. But back to Arsenal. Is there anything else like you're looking even for the rest of the season? You got Champions League. If I'm the Gunners, I'm putting all my attention into that. You play PSV Eindhoven on Tuesday or Wednesday.
They're coming up. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I'm doing. Putting everything into that at this point, right? Because we're pretty safe for a Champions League qualification spot in the league. We're not catching Liverpool at this point, right? I mean, finish with pride, obviously, but yeah, focus should go into Champions League. And the good news is we have a very winnable leg right here against PSV. Like, no disrespect, they could easily beat us. They're a very good team. But compared to some of the other teams that we could have gotten, this was a decent draw. So I do have optimism heading into it, to be honest. Yeah, everything's got to go into that and see what happens. I don't think we win it. I think we'll get past PSV. Hopefully we get some guys coming back into the squad, sooner rather than later that can help out with that front. I feel good about PSV. I don't feel good going forward.
I mean, according to the bracket, I think it's you would play
Yeah,
Real Madrid and Atletico
that's
Madrid
the problem.
next.
So
So
right there is where it's like I just don't think we go past the quarterfinals. But again, you got to throw everything into it, and you never know. If we get people back, I feel like we can compete with anybody.
agreed.
But we're not going to have Havertz. Right there, you take an option off the table. And we'll see what happens when Saka and Martinelli come back. It's going to take them a sec to get acclimated and fit going again. I mean, they're not just going to come out and be banging in goals, creating assists like they can right off the rip. So I think we'll get past PSV. I don't think we go past the quarterfinals, but everything's got to go into that 100%.
I will also say, as far as Arsenal goes, they are only 8 points clear of Chelsea in fifth place. This year we may get five, or next season we may have 5 English teams in the Champions League. I don't think Arsenal will blow it, but if these guys don't come back relatively soon and gives them at least a little bit of time, because it's a big stretch. You have the Champions League away to Eindhoven, then the following weekend you're at Man U, reverse fixture with Eindhoven, then home to Chelsea. Man U is one of those teams that have proven that they can beat Arsenal even when they're not playing well. That's a scary one at Old Trafford. And the Chelsea one is one that Chelsea's like, okay, we need to kind of get some wins going, if we're going to catch someone for the Champions League places.
Yeah.
Don't forget, Arsenal still has to play at Liverpool, home to Newcastle. So tough stretch down the road.
Yeah, and it's just all unfortunate with the injuries and all this. I think we'll get it done. I don't have serious concerns about that right now, but yeah.
Just turning our attention to their rivals at top of the table, and it's one like last week's episode we were talking about. Okay, Arsenal have some relatively straightforward fixtures. Liverpool's taking on Man City. If Man City can do something like we've seen them time and again, this could get real close. Nope, Liverpool came out at the Etihad. Mo Salah 14 minutes in makes it 1-0. Szoboszlai makes it 2-0. They ultimately beat Man City 2-0. Then they take on Newcastle earlier today, beat them 2-0 with goals from Szoboszlai and McAllister. Is it over?
Yeah, no, it's 100%.
13-point gap atop the table.
Yeah, it's over. It's 100% over. I think anybody who follows this league would agree it's done. And this is what title winning teams do.
Yep.
they win when they need to. It was getting close, right? It was getting kind of close, but they beat Man City on the road, which that was the game we're all looking at. Like, this is where things get interesting because if they lose that game, Arsenal beats West Ham, suddenly it's holy shit, we're right back into this. Nah, they kicked their ass. City looked terrible compared to Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool far better team.
I mean, City
And
looked bad today against Tottenham as well.
they did. They did. They got the result, but yeah, they did. But then yeah, heading into this game as well, Newcastle's a very good team. And they kicked ass yet again. Don't get me wrong, Newcastle had a chance. I mean, Callum Wilson was through on goal. I don't know, it's a horrible finish. I mean, they had opportunities, but I mean, Liverpool by far, they just this week they have been phenomenal. And what's impressive is Arne Slot hasn't been on the sideline.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
They've been this good without him. That's a title winning team. And it's over. Like seeing this week, these last two results, anybody who thinks Liverpool's not going to win the league is living in La La Land. I don't know.
They need a mental asylum or something.
Yeah, literally. It's over. It's 100% over.
Yeah. And going back to what you said, they've been without Arne Slot for the last few matches, haven't missed a beat. They were without Alisson, arguably one of the best goalkeepers in the world, for about 2 months earlier on in the season. Didn't miss a beat. It's one of those teams like every team, as we've talked about, you mentioned Tottenham earlier, injuries. Arsenal, riddled by injuries. Liverpool haven't been hit as badly, but they still have guys who are out here and there. And it's just next man up mentality. It's what we saw with Man City the last 4 years, which is a very scary thing considering Man City's coming down. I'm curious to see what happens with Mo Salah, whether he stays or goes, because that's a huge loss. I mean, you look at it. He scored once in the last 2 games, but he's 25 goals all season. Running away with the golden boot. Not just the golden boot, but he also leads the league in assists, 7 more than the second best guys, Anthony Robinson, Bukayo Saka, and Mikel Damsgaard for Brentford.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that he's the best player this year in the Premier League on the best team. And because of that, it's over. It's over, gentlemen.
It's over. We can call it now.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on just the top 2 before we hop into like some Champions League races, European races in the Premier League?
Man, I feel bad for Jurgen Klopp. That all those years he had these really good Liverpool teams, like insanely good Liverpool teams that would be better than this team.
Yeah.
And the year he decides to leave, everyone else decides to fall off. I feel so I can only imagine. Like, I know he's going to be happy for them, but there's got to be that part of him that is just so envious of Arne Slot's situation.
I mean, they're on pace to finish with, because 38 matches? Yeah, they're on pace to finish with just over 90 points. Maybe like 91 points.
97.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's one of those years that as soon as Klopp left, something switched in the Premier League. And now you're going to win the title again with 91 or so points.
Yeah.
But hey, fair play to Liverpool. They've done what they've had to do. But wait for the Gunners continues for a Premier League title.
Yeah.
But moving on, because we think both of these, I mean, as far as Champions League goes, I think it's safe to say both Arsenal and Liverpool are pretty safe unless something drastically happens to Arsenal.
Yeah, which could, but I feel good. I don't think it'll happen.
That then leaves 2 spots. We're just assuming that, say, Premier League just gets the 4 based because we don't know necessarily about the coefficient rankings and everything. I think Premier League's the leader in that. But you never know. FIFA or UEFA has a weird way of doing things. So that leaves 2 spots. As of now, Nottingham Forest sits in 3rd with 48 points. Man City in 4th with 47. Chelsea in 5th with 46. And on just the outside looking in, Newcastle in 6th with 44 points. I don't necessarily – I think Man City will do enough to get done.
Yeah.
Personally. That then brings up, is Chelsea going to be able to get in? Is it going to be Forest who's going to fend it off and finally get back to European football? Is Newcastle going to steal it? What are your thoughts on like that race for really the last spot, considering we both think City will be fine in the end?
Yeah. Worth mentioning, but before we move on, that just below those teams as well, Bournemouth and Brighton are only 5 off, and Fulham and
Yeah,
Villa are 6 off.
yeah,
Like, it's, and not even from top 4, I'm saying from Nottingham Forest, so it's a
yeah,
very close race right now. In terms of who I think is gonna do it, gotta back City. I think ultimately they'll finish 3rd.
yeah.
Um, and then after that, I mean, I've been backing Forest, but that's just because when I didn't back Forest, they were playing phenomenally, so I was like, "Alright, gotta give them respect," but realistically, either Newcastle or Chelsea might get that spot. I think Forest will be right around there because of their defense and their ability to counter. They're gonna continue to get results, but I think either Newcastle or Chelsea fights for that 4th, and Forest comes in 5th, and then either the other 2 finishes in 6th, to be honest. That's kinda what I'm feeling right now. But either way, I mean, it's gonna be exciting to see what happens with this race. Again, we think City's gonna take care of business. They got the best manager maybe ever, to be completely honest, and they've got the best goal scorer arguably in the world. So it should actually they'll be fine, but everyone else after that, and we talked about some of those teams below, Villa, Fulham, Brighton, Bournemouth are still within touching distance as
Yeah.
well. Some of them going a little bit of a run. I mean, Brighton's picked themselves up. They're suddenly looking like a team that maybe can give a
Yeah, I
little bit
mean,
of
they've
threat.
been on tear recently and winning comfortably as well.
Mhm. So, it's an interesting race. It's gonna be fun to watch, right? Especially because all these teams are still gonna be playing because there's
Mhm.
just so many teams in this Champions League race, you're gonna see matches between them still coming up. Uh,
And that's my big thing. That's where I think Forest has the slight advantage, is they play Man City this upcoming, or I guess next weekend.
yeah.
After that, the only teams in the top, like, 6 or 7 they have left to play is Chelsea. They're done with Newcastle, they're done with Arsenal, they're done with Liverpool, and that Chelsea game comes at Forest on the last day of the season,
Mhm.
so prepare yourself for that to be a very massive one.
Cinema.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Whereas Chelsea not only has the UEFA Conference League going, they still have to play at Arsenal, home to Tottenham, which was never easy in that kind of rivalry. Then they finish the season, their last 4, home to Liverpool, at Newcastle, home to Man U, at Nottingham Forest. I can see them drop many more points than I can see Forest dropping against teams in the bottom half.
Mhm.
Then you throw in Newcastle as well, because I think they're the other one there. They're still in the EFL Cup final. They're in the FA Cup. Don't have European football going on. But they also just have to play Chelsea, Arsenal. I mean, Brighton, who's been on a hot streak, but that's about it. I think
Mhm.
ultimately, I think it's going to end up being Forest. I just think they have enough easier
Mhm.
games. There's no such thing as an easy game in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't surprise me at all if Newcastle also jumps Chelsea,
Mhm.
because
That's
that
kinda where I think I'm leaning, to be honest. I said it'd be one of those 2.
you think
I think
Newcastle gets the
I think
edge.
Newcastle just more experience in the squad, and honestly, I like some of their players more than I like Chelsea's players minus Cole Palmer.
Yeah, yeah,
I
and
trust Isak more than I trust any attacker on Chelsea
yeah,
besides Palmer.
and like you look at it, Chelsea, sure, they beat Southampton 4-0. We could put 11 people together and probably beat Southampton 4-0. You look at what they did at the weekend. Enzo Fernandez gets a goal 9 minutes in. You ultimately lose in the 89th minute to Aston Villa. This Chelsea team has kind of been struggling. Again, another team that's been hit here and there by injury bugs, but it's not like anything drastic. They're just not putting the ball away, not taking care of business, and I think that could ultimately haunt them.
Mm,
Moving on to the other European spots, we know we talked on Chelsea, talked on Newcastle, but you said from 5th down to 10th is a 4-point difference. Assume that we get 3 teams out of there. It seems like we're both set on Nottingham Forest.
mm,
We're set on one of like you say Newcastle, I say Forest, as in the last Champions League spot.
mm.
That means one of those 2 will be just outside with Chelsea in 5 and 6. So say we get 7 English teams in Europe next year. Who do you think that 7th going to be? Is it going to be Bournemouth, Brighton, Fulham, Villa? Does someone else make a crazy run?
See, this is I don't know. My heart tells me Bournemouth. My
I
gut
like
tells me Bournemouth, I guess. So I'll rock with them, but honestly, I don't know. This is a toss-up because it really depends on the week, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Brighton just beat Bournemouth. So saying that, you could just be like, well, how can you say that when Brighton just beat them? I don't know. My gut's telling me Bournemouth. I like their attack. I think they're a very solid squad. And I think they've got more durability as the season goes on, to be completely honest. Again, I could be completely off. I feel like Brighton's more susceptible to having hot streaks and then cold streaks.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's what we're seeing. Villa I think with the Champions League going on, they're going to be putting a lot of focus into that, so that might harm them. And then Fulham they're good. I'm taking Bournemouth over Fulham, so that's ultimately why I'm going with them. They're already in 7th right now anyway, but if I had to pick a team, I would say them. But again, who knows, right? Because we see stuff happening all the time that's changing. I mean, like I just brought up, Brighton just beat Bournemouth yesterday.
Yeah.
So who knows?
I'm leaning more to Brighton than I would be Bournemouth.
Mhm.
I think it's riveting stuff because
Mhm.
Brighton, as you said, just played Bournemouth. The rest of the season, they still have to play Fulham. That's their next Premier League match. They still have to play Aston Villa. So those are 6-point swingers right there. They still have to play Newcastle. And the big thing is all 3 of those matches are at home. That is huge because that's a long trip for both Aston Villa and Newcastle, going all the way from north to south, a part of England. That's a journey that'll take its toll in its own right. Fulham and Villa, they're good, but I just don't think it's there. And to the point you made, I love that shout of Aston Villa's going to go all in on Champions League this year. They look damn good in it. They got the players, went out and signed the players to help more with that than I think.
Yeah.
I think they'll give up same way that I think Arsenal will focus on Champions League a bit more than the Premier League now.
Yeah.
But Bournemouth is they're another one that I just can't tell. I think what's holding me back on them, not saying that Brighton has any superstar scorer. Their leading scorer has 7. Seems like it's been more of a team effort defensively. They've given up a few more than Bournemouth, but Bournemouth hasn't scored much more. That's where I think the difference is going to be. That's why I think Newcastle, Chelsea finished clear ahead. It's just I feel like there's a little more consistency at times from Brighton because all these 4 teams are all chaotic. You win 5 in a row, you lose 5 in a row. It's one of those things that is just weird. But my gut's just telling me Brighton, so I'm sticking with that. You're saying Bournemouth. It's gonna be fun. We haven't had a race like this in the years. It feels like everywhere there's been a race, the title race, Champions League, Europa Conference Leagues race. No, what we don't really have a race at anymore, in my opinion, is relegation battle. Do you think just while we're touching on the table and all that stuff, we can leave out all of the Man U, Tottenham, mid-table mediocrity stuff? Do you think it's confirmed? Ipswich, Leicester, Southampton are all going down?
It's not fully confirmed yet with Ipswich and Leicester in terms of points, right? They're only 5 points back. It's very on paper doable, but I don't see any way Leicester gets out of it. And Wolves is better than Ipswich. They've got better players. In my opinion, yes. These are the 3 you'll see go down. If anyone is to have a shot, I would say Ipswich because it does seem like they find ways to score goals against teams they shouldn't. So maybe they just get some good stuff to go their way defensively, maybe a little lucky, maybe they pick up some points. But I'm not backing that. I'm backing Wolves to do that, if anything. I'm backing them. They've got Cunha still, who can create something out of nothing. Hwang, unbelievable player in certain instances. I think, I just don't think Ipswich is going to be able to catch him. And Leicester as well. So I'm thinking these are the 3. I think it's basically over for Leicester at this point, in my opinion. And we're getting very close to putting Ipswich at lock soon,
I mean, I think by April it could really be over because Wolves is the only one of those bottom 4 that has to play the other 3. They play away to Southampton, away to Ipswich, home to Leicester. You win just 2 of those, and you're pretty much guaranteed safety. because you're pushing teams down.
I bet you
as
they
well
do
as,
too.
yeah, I bet they would win all three as well.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily, and those are the ones that we've talked about it time and time again. When you're in a relegation battle, screw beating the big teams. If you get a point, congratulations, hell yeah. You just have to beat the teams around you.
Yeah.
If you get points against the teams you're competing with, you'll be doing better than them. And at the end of the day, once you're in 16th, 17th, and further down, your entire goal is just survive by whatever
Mhm.
means necessary. And I'm with you. I think Wolves is the best of those four. Southampton,
They're
will
down.
they even
They're
get?
down.
Will they even get to 12 or 15 points this year? They get to 15 points.
I
They're at
don't
9
think
of them.
I don't think they get to 15.
I don't either. I think
Be shocked
they're
if they get to 10.
yeah. So I mean, you're looking at their schedule down the road. Up next, away to Liverpool. Let's just put it that way.
That's a loss. Don't even have to
Finish
talk about
Wolves, Crystal Palace, Tottenham away, Aston Villa. Sure, they have to play Leicester as well, but Man City, Arsenal, 2 of their last 3.
that. Mhm.
When the Saints go marching down,
Yeah.
but it's part of the relegation and promotion. Just the difference in level and class between teams in the championship and
Yeah.
teams in the Premiership.
And the disparity is growing every single year. I mean, you see these teams come up and they just don't have a shot, it feels
No.
like, to be honest.
Le-
You'll
Leeds,
see some.
Leeds are fighting for promotion this year. I fully expect them to get relegated next season. Same with Burnley and same with Sheffield United if they all come up.
Mhm, and that's just the reality of it is you can go out and get these big ownership groups. You can go get JJ Watt if you're Burnley. You can have an American takeover if you're Leeds. But the reality is the money and the talent level between the
No,
Premier League and the champ it's insane, and it's growing all the time, and it's going to continue to grow because it's the most watched league in the world, the Premier League.
mhm.
They make the most money. It's going to continue to grow, and it's unfortunate, right? I will say from a Premier League standpoint, it's kinda good because 'cause you've seen a lot of parity grow with teams that you wouldn't have seen earlier. Like, I remember growing up, it was always the Big 6. You'd
Yeah,
always watch for the Big 6. Maybe a team would have a good year every now and then.
Leicester.
Yeah, like that.
But yeah,
That that kinda got the ball rolling, I feel like, but to be honest,
yeah. It woke them all up and be like, okay, it's time to lock in.
yeah, you never saw this level of parity, but it's kind of a yin and a yang, right? While that happens, they have just left the championship behind. So you see these teams come up, immediately go back down, come up, go back down, right? So it's interesting to watch. It's just so hard for these teams that come up to compete, and I expect it to continue next year. Maybe Leeds will be able to.
But I know we're gonna dive into the like championship and all the relegation promotion battles and all those other 3 leagues, but I'm just gonna say while we're talking on this, like I look at the Leeds lineup. Leeds are top of the table by 5 points.
Mm,
8 points over third place Burnley. So it's one of the ones like they're looking damn good.
yeah,
You see maybe 3 at the highest, 3 players that are actually Premier League worthy of playing.
yeah,
You can't replace 11 guys, or I guess 9 other guys, 8 other guys.
8 other
Matthew
guys, yeah.
today, 8 other guys plus your bench, and expect
Mm,
to have one consistency and have the chemistry all going into a new season, into a new league, and 2, it's like, where are you going to get 8 players that are Premier League worthy that other Premier League teams who've been consistent Premier League teams aren't already looking at and trying to get?
yeah,
That's where the issue is, and it's the money wise. You don't make as much. The only way any team, in my opinion, really can survive the move back up, either drastic takeover, which I mean by drastic, I mean like Arab royal money
mhm,
takeover, or you somehow win the playoff final because that's the most expensive game in English football. You
make
win
them.
that, and then you put the money in the right places and bring in the right players. Otherwise, you're not going to make it. Just we're getting promoted.
Yeah,
See how it works out for us.
you can't do that now. Yeah, it's just the disparity is just massive between the 2 leagues, and it's just I think it's just gonna continue to get harder and harder for teams who get promoted to overcome that level, and I'm hoping we don't reach a point where we go all MLS, you know? I don't think we ever would,
Wow.
But I just don't think English fans would be okay with that. But I mean, you never know with soccer. You never know with money involved in sports in general, and that's like,
Super League.
yeah, think about that. It's honestly a concern that I have that they might try to shut them out. Yeah, I hope we never reach that point. I don't think we ever will. You
No, I
see it
don't.
happen around the world, but I don't think it'll happen in Europe. I don't think it can happen in Europe.
No, there'd be too many issues with that if they. I mean, I assume you're saying that they just stop allowing relegation and promotion.
Yeah,
Kind of.
basically, like
Now you're pointing out,
from
yeah.
the Premier League on, like the Premier League separates basically and does its own thing.
I just don't see that happening. And if it did, oh, there would be some riots
Oh yeah.
and some major fan violence in it.
Mhm.
I mean, you saw what happened when they announced the Super League, and
Oh yeah.
fans were threatening to tear down the buildings, tear down the stadiums, try and find the ownership groups, and it's not great.
Yeah. It was over a day,
Oh yeah, yeah. It was
less
over.
than a day after it was announced, which is great. That's why I love football, and by that I mean soccer more than any other sport, because you see any other sport doing this, it kinda just happens and the fans just kinda go along with it. In our sport, when it happens, they protest, they riot, and you get it overturned within a day, which is why I ultimately don't think it'll happen. But I mean, I still don't trust some of these ownership, especially because of all the American influence in the Premier League now.
I
They'd
agree
be
with
like,
you
might be like, "Oh, why are we doing this? Let's just separate. We don't have you even have to worry about it." You know? I
because
don't
it's
know.
just a business investment at the end of the day to
Mhm.
them.
To them, yeah, it's
So
all
the
it is,
fans
money.
can end up and do something that maybe it'll change.
Mhm.
I mean, you look at Forest this year. I don't think. I mean, it's been what almost a decade since Leicester put on their remarkable run, and since then it's been
Yeah.
dominated by the big boys,
Mhm.
fans mostly.
Yeah.
Like one of those things, like it's awesome. It was really cool seeing Forest fighting for the title for a bit. Awesome seeing Bournemouth fighting for Champions League position. All this stuff that is like we just don't get it very often.
Mhm. It's
But
true.
hey, we shall see what the future holds. I don't think either of us have a magic 8 ball that tells us the future. One that
Unfortunately, no.
be a hell
It'd
of a
be
lot
nice.
did, but
I would have known ahead of the season not to get my hopes up for Arsenal, right? Like,
well, you should know that anyway.
yeah, I mean, the 8 ball is basically just my entire fandom, so,
Yeah.
you know.
No, it's tough scenes. Hey, at least he won some sort of trophies, not named the Audi Cup in recent history.
That's
So
true. We could always be
could
Spurs.
always be worse. Could be a Man U fan right now. God.
Oh, you hear we're not allowed to call them Tottenham anymore.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's Tottenham Hotspurs
Tottenham
or
Hotspur or Spurs.
Spurs.
Can't just call them Tottenham anymore because probably in my they I think it's because of branding, because then anyone could put out Tottenham merch because technically it's the area.
Yeah, it is the area.
So, it's so stupid. I'm still calling them Tottenham.
Oh yeah, Tottenham, Tottenham. No one can stop them,
Mhm.
and no one cannot stop us talking about them.
I
As
I
Tottenham.
wonder if part of it was because of the chant, "What do we think of Tottenham?"
Shit.
There you go. I wonder
Yeah,
if part of it
we
was
all
that,
do.
'cause it doesn't have the same ring when you say, "What do we think of Tottenham Hotspurs?"
Oh, nothing's gonna change.
Uh,
Tottenham. I've talked to Tottenham fans about it. They're like, no, we're still calling them Tottenham.
yeah, no
I've
one's
talked
gonna
to other
change the
teams
name.
fans. You see the videos on Twitter, people tweeting. We're still calling them Tottenham.
Dude, when I saw that, it just pissed me off beyond belief because it's such a small little petty thing. Like
Yeah,
like
I'm
what
about to know, otherwise I'm gonna say something stupid. But Tottenham's just it's just one of those petty things, like you're saying. It's just another reason to laugh at them.
yeah, I mean, now broadcasters have to call them Tottenham Hotspurs or Spurs. They can't just say Tottenham. Like, really? That's stupid.
Minsk Tisk, at least we don't have to worry about that with the FA Cup this weekend. I'm going to move us slightly in that direction. FA Cup, fifth round. I think, what are we, like, round of 16? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
round of 16.
16. Any matches you're really looking forward to? Because I'll go through them. And I mean, if we want to touch on them, we
Mhm.
can. Otherwise, if you want to even give predictions of who you think win, not even score lines, but it's like Aston Villa, Cardiff on Friday. I'm taking Villa.
Villa.
This one's going to be fun. Crystal Palace and Millwall. Palace have been mid. Millwall are always mid, but it's two London teams. I'm taking Palace because we all hate Millwall, but
Mhm. Yeah, I'm taking Palace. to be honest. I could be a fun game though with their fans.
It could be, and there's some other teams that are like we do have 3 or 4 Premier League matches as well.
Mm,
Bournemouth vs Wolves, Newcastle Brighton, which I think that'll be a spicy one.
mhm.
Man U Fulham as well, and then Nottingham Forest and Ipswich. Any of those really jump off the page for you?
I think the Newcastle Brighton's got to be it, right? Brighton's on a hot streak. We've talked about it. Destroyed Chelsea early on, which did not, or sorry, they destroyed Chelsea in the league after beating them in the FA Cup. Did not see that coming at all, and that's kind of helped lead them to where they are now on this very impressive hot streak of theirs. And Newcastle is still a very good team, so this is gonna be a fun one. To be honest, I'm going to have to say I'm going to take Brighton. I'm going to take Brighton in this. I think they're going to carry it over. I think this is going to be the best game, at least looking at it on paper for sure. And I'm going to take Brighton. I think they continue their hot streak. I could see them having a little FA Cup run.
I honestly can see that as well. I mean, I don't. I said I think they're going to make Europe, but I think it
Mhm.
all starts with them staying hot in here, and like the cups, and just
Mhm.
keep their momentum going. I don't think they do against Newcastle. I do think they slip up. I think Alexander Isak is the difference maker. He can bag goals if he's actually playing. That's the other hard part with predicting FA Cup is you have no idea if teams are actually locking
Mhm.
in, or not,
Mhm.
especially one like this. Other games, just to run over, we don't even need the predictions. Just want to throw them out there. Preston North End and Burnley. I think Burnley's one of the weirdest teams this year. They've given up 9 goals in the league. They're just grinding out 0-0s left and right. But with that being said, their owner, hey, if you're from Cincinnati, Ohio, you best be a diehard Burnley fan at the moment. Because apparently there's a bet in place. We'll see if it actually comes true. Made by the Burnley goalkeeper.
Mhm.
Name is blanking me at the moment. James Trafford, who is for some reason a Bengals fan. He made a bet with partial owner of Burnley, J.J. Watt. It's like if I don't keep another, or if I don't allow another goal this season, you have to come out of retirement and join the Bengals. Since then, he's gone 13 straight matches without allowing a goal.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird stories and weird teams in Burnley that they just sit back, will score goals. They put up 4 against your boys, Sheffield Wednesday at the weekend. But it's just a random story to throw out there.
It's an awesome story. And it's one that we should probably do a little feature on because it's remarkable. I saw him responding to it. Like, didn't actually think like he'd start doing this, basically.
I do say we've talked about the negatives of the American owners in the Premier League. There are some real positives in the other leagues. Like you look at Wrexham, we'll touch on them in a second. They go out to the pub with them. You look at Ed Sheeran, who's at Ipswich Town. I don't think he owns them, but he's a diehard Ipswich fan. He goes out to the pubs and just drinks with fans. I know that the Leeds were owned by a couple NBAers, like Larry Nance Jr. showed up
Mhm.
to a bar outside Ellen Road and started buying pints for people. Will Ferrell goes to meetups and he goes to the games. JJ Watt interacts with fans and
Mhm.
players. It's one of those good sides because there's a lot of negatives I will say about American ownership in the Premier League and
Oh,
in
yeah.
European football. And it
Glazers.
is good to see Glazers
Mhm.
key and public enemy number one, I would think.
Mhm.
But then it's nice to see these other owners like having fun and enjoying it, taking it seriously enough on the pitch, but also getting to know the towns, getting to know the people because you don't really see the Glazers going and messing around in Manchester all that much.
No, you did not.
But any other talk on the FA Cup before we hop into some of those like tables updates around the country?
I will say I kinda like the makeup of this FA Cup because a lot of the traditional big boys aren't in it, you
Yeah,
know? Like, don't get me wrong, you still have Man U,
and Man City,
um,
and that's it.
that's in City. That was the other one, that's basically it. Everyone else is out. I'm all in on Plymouth. Let's go Plymouth. I wanna see the Pilgrims go for it, but, yeah, it's fun. You're gonna see someone, most likely, unless City goes and wins it or Man U goes and repeats, which would be crazy. You're gonna see someone smaller win it.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think that's gonna happen. I'm back in Brighton. That's my little surprise run. I don't even know if it's really that much of a surprise run, but I'm backing them as kind of one of the non-traditional power teams in England to win it. And you look at the lineup of teams that are left, that's basically what it is, 14 of 16 teams. Maybe you could throw Newcastle in there now with the funding they have, but
I like Forest to look good in the rest of this. I know they won't win it, but Burnley gives me vibes that they could just mess around and take teams to penalty shootouts or win 1-0 and just grind out the most disgusting FA Cup run in the world, but get it done and make it the semis or the final, maybe even.
It's gonna be fun to watch the rest of the way. It's kind of like think in basketball terms, like the Final Four just a few years ago when you had Florida Atlantic, San Diego State playing in one game.
Yeah.
Kind of gives off similar-ish vibes with who we got left, especially if someone can take out City. I don't think Plymouth will. So
No,
I do think Fulham could take out Man U, and then we're left with just one, so.
Hey, I just don't want to see the Manchester Derby again for what feels like the third FA Cup final in a row. So
Yeah, we can't have that.
anything else there would be wonderful. But that is that. Time to look at some just tables around England, promotion, relegation, just because why not? We haven't done that really much this season. We talk about the championship a bit, but promotion-wise, Leeds lead the way with 75 points. Sheffield United have 70 in second. For those who don't know, in the championship, it's the top two teams go up automatically, and then we have a playoff for 3 through 6. And that's a close race.
Mm-hmm.
Burnley of 68 points, third, Sunderland of 62. Then it's an 11-point gap. West Brom and Blackburn Rovers. I want Blackburn. I think they deserve to be back in the Premier League. For those who don't remember, Blackburn used to be a Premier League staple. Them, Stoke, Sunderland at times. Well, those two teams have 51 points, which is only 3 more than Watford, who's in 9th place. Only 4 more than Middlesbrough in 11th. This is about 7 teams, 4 points apart, all fighting for 2 spots in the playoff.
Mm.
And as we've talked on our Vendetta Slack about it, the championship is one of the toughest leagues in the world. You play 43 matches a season. Nope, that doesn't add up. 46 matches a season.
Yeah.
They're at 34. So there's still 12 games left for everybody. And there's so much that can happen in that time. Sheffield Wednesday's not even out of it. They have 45.
6 back.
They're 6 back. And all these teams have to play each other.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't been watching, it's well worth doing so.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be fun to see how it's always fun to watch the end of this year. Because what I like about it is so many teams have a shot because of the 4-team playoff you have on top of the 2 automatic promotions. I think promotion playoffs are awesome.
I was going to say, do you think the 2 that are up there go up, or do you think Burnley or even Sunderland steal a place?
Yeah, I'll be completely honest. I'm not going to be as well versed in championship footy as you are.
That's sad.
I'm going to say Leeds for sure. Look at it. 71 goals for, only 21 against, a plus 50 goal difference, and you're 5 points ahead of second and 7 ahead of third right now. I think you'll realistically be fine. You've been playing phenomenally all season. I mean, the stats show it right there. The Burnley's kind of interesting to me. They're only 2 points back, and the 9 goals conceded is insane. How stout they are defensively. So I wonder if they can get that spot.
April 21st, Sheffield United go to Burnley.
Mm-hmm. That could be it.
The last game of the season, and I think that's going to be the decider because I don't see either of these teams really dropping that many more points. I am concerned about Leeds. There's games and teams that are playing West Brom, for example, this upcoming weekend, but it's the ones like at Portsmouth, at QPR, just because never do well against them. At Middlesbrough's not even easy, but this is the championship for you. Always entertaining, always chaotic. Relegation-wise, similar to the Premier League. It's Luton, Derby, Plymouth from bottom up. Luton 28 points, Derby 29, Plymouth 30. Right ahead of them is Hull with 33, Stoke with 35, and Cardiff City with 36. I I mean, Plymouth was dead in the water to me, but since they fired Wayne Rooney, they've kind of made a little bit of a leap. Do you think the three we have in there right now are the three going down?
Luton for sure. They're gonna fall down to League One. They're gonna have like a Wolves did this at one point. Sunderland did it.
Yeah.
Granted, they were in the league, Premier League, a lot longer than Luton, but you see teams do it where when they fall, they just can't recover because it's such a shock. Financially, you lose so many players. They're going down. They've looked dead in the water all season. People have been talking about it. A lot of people who know a lot better than I do with championship footy have talked about it. I think Luton goes down. And then after that, probably Derby. I'm guessing. But I'll tell you what, Plymouth's goal difference is -32. That's the worst.
That's the concern for them is like they're just getting battered at times. But they've looked a hell of a lot better recently. They're gonna beat Man City, then they're gonna beat Hull. I don't know. They play Man City next and then Hull, I think. Yeah. Which that's a big one. I don't know. The bottom is such a mess that it could really be anything.
32 is crazy.
They all kind of deserve to go down.
68 goals conceded in 34 games. Every single game they play, they've gotten scored on average 2 goals a game.
Jesus.
That's crazy.
And when you look at it, it's not like they're not scoring. They have 36, which is the most of any team in the bottom 5.
Mhm.
Really, any of the bottom 7 outside of Cardiff City.
Yeah.
Ugly, ugly, ugly stuff. Moving on down the line, League One, a riveting league as well. I can't say I've watched too much of their matches this season, but it's still enough to kind of understand what's going on. Birmingham City running away with it. Everyone else played 32 or 33 games. They've played 31, and they're 9 points clear. I don't see anybody catching them, especially 2 teams, because in this one it's the same format. 2 go up automatically, next 4 in the playoff, and that's where it gets interesting. America's favorite owners, Ryan Reynolds, or I guess Canada's favorite owner, Ryan Reynolds, and Rob McIntyre, owning Wrexham, who is currently 3rd behind Wickham, 61 points to 64, so they're right there. Do you think the Hulu – I know the Hulu wants it to really see Wrexham get promoted for their show, which honestly is not bad.
Yeah, I haven't gotten past season 1, but it's pretty good.
I've only watched season 1, but it was entertaining enough.
Mhm.
You think they get it done? You think they can jump Wickham?
I don't know, to be honest. Again, this is where I wish I was a little more well-versed in the lower leagues of England, so I could kind of make better calls on it. So we're just going to base this completely on what's in front of us right now.
Oh no, that's 100% what we're doing.
Yeah,
we're hoping for the best.
Yeah, I mean, right now, 61 points. Wickham's at 64. That is very, very doable in terms of catching them, right? Who do they have coming up? Let's look. Do they play them? They do.
They do play them in
Saturday,
a couple
March
weeks.
15th. That might be it.
But at the same time, like the goal difference isn't crazy, but it's 7. 7 goals in Wickham's favor. So even if they do win, they still need to make up 7 goals throughout the rest of the season.
But at the same time, they still have so many games to go.
Oh yeah,
they've got damn near 14 and 15. So
yeah, it's a lot of footy left to be played.
Yeah, I'd love to see it because storyline with Wrexham's been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, for those who really who haven't seen it or haven't heard about it, Wrexham were really good for a long time. Not really good, but they spent a lot of time in the 2nd division, kind of bounced up and down. They ended up in the National League, like the Conference National League, which is what, the 5th tier?
Yeah, 5th tier.
5th tier. Then it converted to the National League. That's why I was confused on what I'm looking at. So they're National League, and then in 20-something they were bought. 2020-something they were bought. And then they went from 2022-23, promotion from the National League. 2023-24, so last season, promoted from League 2. Now they're on the verge this year of being promoted from League 1 to the Championship. One hell of a story, getting promoted from non-league, non-professional football to the 2nd best league in England in 3 seasons is a remarkable feat, remarkable story if they get it done. I think even if they don't get automatic promotion, I think they're better than the likes of Stockport County, Huddersfield Town, and Leighton Orient.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see. We were talking about teams who deserve to be up in higher leagues. I want to see Bolton get back. Reading was in the Premier League for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's the nostalgia aspect.
Yeah, that's big because you think about all these teams we used to watch growing up.
Yeah,
Reading's one that was in there for a while.
Wigan's 14th in this league now.
Yeah, Wigan at one point, the year they went down from the Premier League, they won the FA Cup, one of the most magical stories in all of English footy history, I would argue. And
Hell
then
yeah.
who else we got down here?
I mean, it's like Blackpool, Barnsley. They've been just championship bound forever.
Yeah.
But looking at relegation wise, it's Bolton, and this is one of those weird leagues where 4 teams go down. Burton, Albion, Crawley Town, Shrewsbury, Cambridge. Cambridge might be smart school, shite football team though. But it's one of those things. Like, it's just entertaining to kind of have a look at these and just impulse decisions off it. I want to see Exeter stay up. I think they will. But it's really with 4 teams all kind of close. And teams above them are pretty close as well. Anything's possible.
Hey, worth mentioning that Birmingham's co-owner is Tom Brady.
Oh yes.
So add another
That's
American.
why they've been doing well. The balls have been a little lighter, a little more deflated.
There you go.
Than the rest of the league.
See, unfortunate that would actually have a negative effect, I would say.
Yeah, no, that definitely would have a negative effect.
You love those well-pumped balls, man. You can smash the shit out of them.
Oh, yeah.
They get so much better movement.
Oh, 100%. It just can put the curl on it much better. Bang them into the back of the net, kind of like we saw some goals being banged in this week. Some very good goals, I will say. But otherwise, moving on down the line even further. What you know about League Two? I know virtually nothing.
Yeah.
Walsall, 67 points. Bradford City in second with 60. Doncaster Rovers in third with 58. As of now, those 3 are automatically up. Then it's a 4-team playoff of AFC Wimbledon, Notts County, Port Vale, Crewe Alexandra. It's very close for that last automatic spot. As I said, Doncaster 58 points. They've also played one more game than both Wimbledon and Notts County, who have 57. 2 more than Port Vale, who have 55. Do you have any thoughts and predictions on this? Wimbledon go up.
I mean, Notts County was just in the National League not too long ago. So, yeah, they got promoted through the not too long ago. So it'd be kind of cool to see them go up. I'm going to move down to 11th here to Cheltenham. Fun fact, I played Football Manager on my phone when I was very young, and this was the very first team besides Arsenal, like outside Arsenal, that I ever managed, and I took them all the way to the championship.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah, I mean,
it's a sweet spot.
Yeah, I'm partial to them. It'd be cool, but they are very far out of it. But always fun to see teams like that from old Football Manager saves down the line. Like when Tamworth is on, I'm always going to go for Tamworth because of that same reason.
Yep.
So, but looking at this, it kind of looks like AFC Wimbledon. They've got the plus 23 goal difference. They've got a game in hand. They win that game in hand. They're in second place. I'm gonna
surprising. Doncaster only has plus 8 goal difference. Fun fact for you, AFC Wimbledon. There's a family friend of my dad's who 2 brothers. One of them goes to every single AFC Wimbledon match, home and away. Not just the men's, the women's, the youth teams. Goes to virtually every single match, which is pure dedication to a team in League Two.
Hey, that's what a true fan is.
Oh yeah, I think he's been doing it for decades. So
that's so sick. I hope for his sake one day they get a shot, because AFC Wimbledon is this iteration of the club's relatively new because of what happened with MK Dons. So I'll always root for them.
Yeah, for that one it's funny. MK Dons is sitting in 17th. They're only, I guess, they're 13 points clear of relegation with only 2 teams going down. But MK Dons used to be Wimbledon.
Mm-hmm.
Then ownership moved them, changed their name. So Wimbledon was left without a team. Fans build it up, kind of find the funding, get a team going, work their way up. Been up, I think, as high recently as the championship, maybe, but definitely League One, League Two as well. So, hell of a story there.
Always root for those kinds of teams.
Oh yeah, it's the small guys we all love seeing succeed. I don't think we need to go any further. I don't think we need to dive into the National League.
Oh, we could get really into the weeds and go even further. End up in the Isthmian.
Oh, absolutely.
Isthmian Premier League. Get to hashtag United level.
Hashtag United. I will say, on this app I use for following football, especially, I don't even live score. I got one National League team saved in Woking, who I saw play once when I was there. And then Dorking Wanderers, because that's, I guess, my cousin's local team. And I was like, let's see what they do. Currently, and this is where you get deep, National League South, they're 1 point off the top spot, or have the top spot by 1 point. So that's going to be an exciting title race.
There you go.
Otherwise, I don't have much else. If you want to dive into MLS stuff, we can, because the MLS season is back. But
yeah, I mean, it just started, so
there's not a whole lot there.
Yeah, I dropped a quick little preview on the season on, what would it be, Friday, Saturday? I think it was Friday. Looking forward, teams that I'm interested in seeing are Galaxy. They can repeat. I know Royce has been voicing his complaints about MLS roster rules, stuff like that. It'd be interesting to see what they can do. I'm interested to see what Atlanta United can do now that Miguel Almiron is back. I think that's going to be interesting. But I think this is going to be the year for Inter Miami. I think this is going to be the year. They won the Supporters' Shield last year. I see that happening again this year. I don't really see anyone who's going to stop a team with the superstar level talent that they have.
I mean, the only way I see them getting stopped is by themselves. But even in their first game, you're down to 10 men, and somehow, riddle me this, because it's still Messi got a yellow card in the 105th minute because it was 90 plus 15. They got an equalizer in the 90th plus 10. I'm not saying anything, but
they want Inter Miami to do well, and they're ultimately going to do well. I think they'll win. I think an interesting storyline to watch is how San Diego does.
Yeah, I mean, they're 1-0. They beat what? They beat the Galaxy.
They beat the defending champs. So, I mean, they got started hot. Bruce Arena's coaching San Jose. That's going to be fun little storyline to watch.
Really?
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch how like FC Dallas does, because they made a bunch of sweeping moves with their roster. So it'll be fun to see what happens with them. They got Luciano Acosta. Evander went from Portland Timbers, where he was a dog, to Cincinnati, and I picked him as my MLS MVP pick because it's lazy to go with Messi. So I picked him as my pick. And it'll be interesting to see what happens this season. With MLS, a lot of times you don't know because rosters change so much. It's fluid. You've got all these different roster rules in the MLS and anywhere else in the world that allows for a certain level of parity, where one year a team could be absolutely diabolical and the next year they could be semi-decent, So it's going to be fun to watch.
I'll also say it's one of those leagues that gets impacted virtually every year halfway through. Like we have Inter Miami and I think the Seattle Sounders. One of them earned their place. The other kind of paid their way into the Club World Cup.
Yeah.
Was picked their way, but besides the point. Two teams doing that. It's also the big summer transfer window is in the middle of the season for Europe. So the European transfer window, which is July, beginning of July to the end of August, typically. That's right in the middle of the MLS season. So players may leave, go abroad, and you may start out the season really hot, but it's like a trade deadline in all the other American sports. You need to get through the transfer window, see who you still have around.
Yeah.
Then you can start making a final big push.
Yeah. But it's going to be fun. We're going to be trying to cover that a lot more as we get ready for the 2026 World Cup. Just pay more attention to stuff. Cover the USL is about to start as well. Just give US soccer more of a look at Vendetta.
Oh yeah, we need to. But Jackson, do you have any final thoughts or anything before I kind of wrap this one up?
I'm all good on my end. I got to talk about MLS. We're good.
There we go. And I got to talk about Leeds and got League Two. So all the fun stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Hope we entertained you enough this last hour talking about virtually everything we could as far as the English leagues go. We got some National League South and North shouts in, some MLS shouts, some FA Cup shouts. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week.